The drama surrounding Floyd Mayweather versus Miguel Cotto was never just about a title or a perfect record. It was about perception, legacy, and whether one of the most disciplined, controlled fighters the sport had ever seen could be forced into chaos by a man whose career had been defined by pressure, resilience, and punishment willingly absorbed in pursuit of greatness. On a night charged with expectation, history, and national pride, two world-class fighters stepped into the ring carrying very different narratives, each believing the fight would finally reveal a deeper truth about who they really were. By the time the opening bell rang, Floyd Mayweather was already a legend living in real time. Undefeated, meticulous, and unapologetically brilliant, he had turned boxing into an exercise in precision rather than brutality. His critics said his fights lacked drama. His supporters argued that mastery itself was a drama. For more than a decade, opponents had chased him, missed him, grown frustrated by him, and eventually lost him. The question heading into this fight was not whether Mayweather was great, but whether Miguel Cotto could force him to fight a different kind of fight. Cotto entered the ring as a proud Puerto Rican warrior, a fighter whose reputation had been forged through wars rather than chess matches. His career was marked by battles that left visible scars, both physical and emotional, but also by a moment of undeniable courage. He was bigger, stronger, and more accustomed to sustained exchanges than Mayweather. And on this night, wearing the same 10-ounce gloves used by heavyweights, Cotto believed the physicality of the fight could tilt the balance in his favor. The gloves felt symbolic. Pillows, some would say. But even pillows can bruise when thrown often enough. From the opening moments, the contrast in styles was unmistakable. Mayweather glided across the canvas, shoulders rolling, eyes locked, reading everything. Cotto moved forward deliberately, cutting off the ring rather than chasing, fighting with the quiet confidence of someone who prepared for exactly this challenge. The early rounds unfolded with a tension that didn't require knockdowns to feel dangerous. Every feint mattered. Every jab was a message. Cotto tested Mayweather early, not with reckless aggression, but with measured pressure. He aimed to touch the body, to force exchanges along the ropes, to make Mayweather uncomfortable in places he rarely lingered. The crowd sensed it immediately. This was not a routine Mayweather performance. This was a contest. For perhaps the first time in years, Mayweather was being asked questions that did not have obvious answers. Still, the brilliance was there. Mayweather's shoulder roll deflected punches that would have broken rhythm against lesser fighters. His right hand snapped out with surgical timing, slipping between Cotto's high guard, landing where space barely existed. Even when back to the ropes, Mayweather remained composed, rolling punches and countering in one seamless motion. He wasn't running. He was inviting mistakes. Cotto, to his credit, refused to be discouraged. He kept his hands high, varied his attack, and found moments to land, especially with the jab. In the middle rounds, that jab became a weapon, snapping Mayweather's head back just enough to draw blood and remind everyone watching that even perfection can be touched. The sight of blood on Mayweather's face electrified the arena. Fans were witnessing something rare, vulnerability. As the rounds passed, the fight deepened. Mayweather began to adjust, subtly changing rhythm, stepping inside rather than away, turning defense into offense. He fired right hands over the top, mixed in body shots, and introduced a left uppercut that Cotto struggled to see coming. Each adjustment was small, but together they shifted the momentum. This was the part of Mayweather's genius that often went unnoticed, not just avoiding damage, but solving opponents in real time. Cotto continued to press, pouring effort into every exchange. His body work was deliberate, echoing strategies that had troubled other great fighters before. He landed enough to keep the fight honest, enough to remind Mayweather that this was not a sparring session or a showcase. Yet the cost of that pressure began to show. Mayweather's counters grew sharper, his timing more precise. What once looked competitive began to tilt toward control. By the championship rounds, the story was clear. Cotto had fought bravely, intelligently, and with heart. He had done what few could, push Mayweather into deep water and force him to swim. But Mayweather, as he so often did, found another gear. In the 12th round, he closed the show with authority, rocking Cotto with a devastating left uppercut that underscored the difference between pressure and precision. It wasn't a knockout, but it was definitive. When the final bell rang, there was no controversy. Mayweather stood undefeated, once again proving that technical mastery wins prize fights. Cotto stood respected, having delivered one of the most competitive performances of Mayweather's career. The crowd, having witnessed a rare blend of drama and discipline, responded with appreciation rather than disappointment. This fight lingered in memory not because it shattered expectations, but because it fulfilled them in a deeper way. It showed that Floyd Mayweather could be challenged without being beaten, and that Miguel Cotto's legacy was not defined by wins and losses alone, but by the willingness to confront greatness head-on. It was a reminder that boxing's beauty lies not only in domination, but in resistance. In the end, the narrative was larger than the scorecards. It was about styles colliding, reputations tested, and respect earned. Mayweather remained money, undefeated and untouchable in the record books. Cotto walked away having proven that even perfection can be pushed, if not broken. If you enjoyed revisiting this classic matchup and breaking down the layers behind one of boxing's most compelling fights, let me know what stood out to you most. Do you think this was Mayweather's toughest test, or did another opponent push him further? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more documentary-style breakdowns like this, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the next deep dive into boxing history. The drama surrounding Floyd Mayweather versus Miguel Cotto was never just about a fight. It was about legacy, pride, and the question of whether one of the most calculated, flawless champions the sport had ever produced could be genuinely challenged by a fighter whose career had been defined by courage, endurance, and sheer resilience. On a night charged with expectation, two world-class athletes stepped into the ring with very different histories and philosophies, each determined to write their own chapter in boxing history. One sought perfection, the other redemption. Floyd Mayweather entered the arena carrying the aura of inevitability. Known as money, he had perfected a style that turned boxing into an art of avoidance as much as attack. For years, opponents had tried to pierce the armor of his defense, to force him into exchanges he preferred to avoid. Most had failed. Undefeated, meticulous, and calculating, Mayweather had become a living testament to the power of discipline and precision. The narrative surrounding him was simple. His fights were exhibitions of technical mastery, nearly devoid of drama. But that perception would be tested in ways both subtle and striking on this night. Miguel Cotto, in contrast, brought a story of relentless grit. The Puerto Rican fighter was no stranger to punishment, no stranger to the spotlight, and certainly no stranger to the ring's unforgiving demands. He carried with him not just his own reputation, but the hopes of a nation, a reminder that every punch and every strategy represented more than personal ambition. The plan was clear. Pressure Mayweather, attack the body, cut off the ring, and force the champion into a fight on Cotto's terms. This wasn't reckless aggression. It was a calculated attempt to challenge perfection with persistence, to turn skill into vulnerability. From the first bell, the contrast was immediate. Mayweather glided across the ring with fluidity that seemed almost impossible, his shoulders rolling to deflect punches, eyes scanning for openings. Cotto advanced methodically, taking control space, forcing exchanges along the ropes, and landing the occasional jab that drew cheers from the crowd. The tension was electric. For the first time in years, Mayweather's opponents weren't simply missing. They were engaging, questioning, and challenging him in real time. The opening rounds were a chess match as much as a boxing contest. Cotto tested Mayweather's defense with the left hook and body shots, trying to pry open a champion who rarely allowed openings. The crowd responded to the subtle shifts and touches, realizing that even when Mayweather avoided damage, the narrative of control was being contested. The gloves, heavier than Mayweather's usual choice, symbolized more than just weight. They represented the challenge of a man willing to use every ounce of force and skill to disrupt the rhythm of a near-perfect fighter. By the third and fourth rounds, Cotto's strategy began to show glimpses of effectiveness. He pressed Mayweather along the ropes, attempted combinations, and focused on the body, landing several blows that forced small reactions from the champion. Yet Mayweather's genius was evident in the smallest details. Slight changes in stance, subtle shifts of weight, and the infamous shoulder roll that neutralized power without the need for confrontation. Even when Cotto's punches found their mark, the effect was never catastrophic, a testament to Mayweather's preparation and anticipation. In the middle rounds, the fight evolved into a nuanced battle of psychology as much as physics. Cotto's jabs were precise, his body shots deliberate, and his movement along the ring relentless. He sought to control tempo, to make Mayweather commit to exchanges, and to create moments where a single punch might tilt the balance. The crowd could sense the tension building. Each landed jab, each absorbed shot, each subtle retreat by Mayweather felt monumental. For fans accustomed to one-sided dominance, this was a rare sight. Mayweather under pressure, reacting, adapting, and yet maintaining composure that had made him legendary. Mayweather, for his part, adapted in ways both subtle and devastating. He began to mix rhythms, stepping inside rather than circling,